I'm Dr. Ashley, and this is From Her Point of View. Part of the mission of From Her Point of View is to provide women with a platform to discuss the topics that directly affect them. One fall evening, Sherry and I gathered a group of women to do just that. We played a game called One Question, One Truth. Each woman took two slips of paper. On one piece of paper, she wrote a question, and on the other, she wrote a truthful statement. Those slips of paper were collected and mixed up in a bowl. I drew one of the small slips of paper, read what was on it, and the discussion began. Over the next few episodes, you'll hear the content of that conversation. The content is raw, it's unfiltered. Sometimes we veer away from the original question or statement. Sometimes we go off on a tangent. But the main objective was achieved. We had a mutually beneficial interchange. We laughed, we cried, and we shared. But most importantly, we used our collective voices to express our thoughts, feelings, and experiences. Here is part 1 of From Her Point of View, One Question, One Truth. All right, so what we're doing this evening, we have a few friends come together, and we're going to have a little chat.
About girl stuff.
We're going to talk about all different types of topics. Everybody wrote down a little something, and we're going to just dig in, hear what everybody has to say. It's an open forum, so say
and
anything.
These people will remain anonymous for now.
I struggle with growing older. Things just aren't the same.
That's good.
That's a topic that I think a lot of us can talk about. I mean, everybody gonna grow older. You got two choices. You grow old or die.
Yep.
That's true, but
you know what I mean?
It's a mentality, right?
Yeah.
Because you feel like you get older, you go through the whole changes of your body.
And who prepares us for that? Who tells us what's really going to happen?
Nobody. You don't hear too many people saying good things about getting older. Like, you always hear, oh, my back's hurt. My back hurt. Or my sex drive is changing. You know, things like that. Like, it's not the same. Oh, my breast is not as perky as it used to be.
I was talking to a lady the other day, and she was telling me that she was telling me that I should be happy that I'm young, because once she started menopause, her juices don't flow.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow. And she was like, it don't matter what you do.
Yeah. So let's talk about that for a second. Whose mom sat down with them and told them, this is what's going to happen. You're going to change, and this is going to lose fat. This is going to lose juice. This is going to... Who told you that? Nobody. But even though it happens to everybody.
I was going to say that. Even though it happens to everyone.
So why do you think that women don't talk about what happens when they go through the quote-unquote change of life?
I think they're ashamed.
Or they don't know how to. How do you start that conversation? It starts with what we did now, a question, right?
Mm-hmm.
But who's
going to ask?
Who's going to ask it?
Do we know to ask? We don't know to ask unless you tell us this is what's going on.
And I also think, too, coming from my family, my grandmother is like rock solid.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go to her with certain questions.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that my mom know that, and being as though she grew up with her, she know it's certain things she can't go to her grandmother about. And
why do you think that is, though?
I think it's just how she was brought up. Like, she's
to just take it and not ask any questions.
But you wouldn't want to.
She don't cry. You can't get her to cry.
Right, but
she's not gonna cry.
She wouldn't want to share that. Why is she so strong? Why is she so solid?
Maybe to her, it's nothing. It's
she doesn't want to share. It's the truth.
Yeah, maybe she was taught to be a certain way, and that's just how she knows how to live life. And there are people who teach you to be strong, never cry.
Oh my God, here we go.
Be strong. Never complain. If something's wrong or happens in this household, you keep it in this household.
Or pray about it.
Yeah, or pray about it.
And if I may intervene, I'm guilty of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure anybody that knows me, don't give me the crying.
Open forum, go ahead, do it.
But it's not a bad thing. It's just how.
And that's the thing. You said, don't get me to crying. We just talked about this. She said, my grandmother's not going to cry in front of us.
But this is the thing.
Right.
Why not?
I don't
Is that
even
a
know
sign
because
of
I'm not even
weakness?
drinking
It's
yet,
not.
and it's like it's funny
But
that
the
it struck a
reality-
nerve.
But it's on your heart.
Because I know for a fact that the people that know me, I think they see me as being kind of maybe unapproachable. Because I am very
You're not
serious,
unapproachable.
and I'm very like not for the bullshit.
And that's
So don't
okay.
come to me with it, especially if I detect it from a distance. However, I want to help and I want to communicate, and I don't mean to be that way, but I'm not for the bullshit. Yeah. So I would rather just be away from
but
people.
You're used to coming in a situation with your
Right.
guard already up,
Right.
knowing that
Somebody
whoever
has a
is
hidden
around is about
agenda.
some bullshit, and you are
Don't
not
waste
for
my
it.
time.
So you don't let people in because of that.
And
Doesn't mean
then-
that you're a bad person.
And then
Doesn't
my
mean that-
answer, may be harsh because it's the harsh truth of it. However, a lot of times I don't think it's taken in its proper perspective, maybe.
Yeah.
But I mean well, and I only want the best for everyone.
Yeah.
But the thing with the whole age thing though, like my mom always, the only thing I was ever told was time, like the time thing. She was like, slow down, little girl, because one day time, you're not going to be able to catch it. Mm-hmm. And I think I'm at that point now because time is just moving like weeks and months, and next thing you know, we're getting ready to hit 220.
Yeah.
Like what happened to the, you know what I mean? The winter
gone.
months, the summer just like went by like that.
And so for my 20-year high school reunion is going on right now.
Oh really?
And
I'm 18 years out.
Wow.
it
Wait a minute.
no,
Wait. When did I come out of school?
I know, right?
graduated in 99.
I graduated 2001, and that's how I know it's 18 years because we just celebrated, or not celebrated, but we commended 9/11, and 9/11 happened right after I graduated from high school.
Really?
Yeah.
I had
So-
to like
And,
My mom
and this
died
was what you
that
was just
same
saying.
month.
Time
See?
just
September 30th
Gone.
of
I
01.
just graduated from high
Which
school.
was
That's 18 years
gone.
ago.
Time's
Little over
gone.
Like that whole
years ago.
9/11. Like I remember she was calling us like, oh my God, pack your bags, run for the hills. Like they're coming for us. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And it was so funny because I'm like all in it. Denver, straight up dead, ghost town.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Question. What would you tell your younger self about life so that they can grow accordingly?
Keep walking. When he came down that street in that Audi, keep walking. Okay? Turn the music up louder.
He ain't it, girl.
He ain't it. Run. That's what I should have
You
said.
would told her to run.
Run.
Or piggybacking off what you said, never forget the reason that you got rid of somebody the first time.
Yes.
Because those reasons never change. Yeah, they never
Pay
change.
attention to the caution sign because
Right.
women
The red flags,
are
they don't lie to
blessed
you.
with
Tuition, and that
It
is
a
real.
gift
Listen
and
to
it
it.
is a curse because it cautions you from the very beginning. Now, that's where your heart and your mind kind of battles with each other, right? Because your heart is just like, no, take a chance. But your mind is like, no, baby.
You already know better.
You know what you're looking at. You know what you're feeling. You know what that is.
And I feel like we have an instinct to want what we should not have, and that messes us up in the end.
Right.
Because we don't have the discipline to say, you know what, this is a bad thing. Don't take it. Something inside of us is saying, risk it, take it, and then you
That's
risk
that
it,
flesh.
take it.
So
Yeah.
what is
And then you
it?
get jacked
What
up.
is it that makes us ignore what we know
Flesh. I
and
think our
go
godly.
for what we know is wrong?
I think our godly intuition.
Or do we
inside
really
is
know
telling
it's
us.
wong?
I think it's the adventure. It's
Right.
I think
it's
so.
the adventure, the fear,
Right.
the possibility of the unknown. Like you want to travel into a realm that you are unfamiliar with because it's there. So
And
it's
That's the same
presenting
way
itself.
when you meet a guy, like when you're younger. And me, I'm from the city. So when we were younger, it was the dope boys that had it all. So you see him drive down, and I'm really about to tell my age, but he's in a Lexus with BBSs, and you're like, yes. You know you shouldn't deal with him.
You know how
But
he got it.
everything in you was like, just do it once. And you do it that
One
one time,
time.
and you're like, okay, now I love him. You know daggone well you don't love him.
See, and if I
fell
may,
in love
and
with
I'm
the
not trying to do a
facade.
true
Yeah.
confession
It's
right
the
now.
image.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to do a true confession, but this is my confession, my truth, and the truth. Taking that in consideration, me coming from where I come from, humble beginnings, and being able to say, people telling me, look, if you want it, you better figure it out, because ain't nobody got no money to be getting you nothing. So you figure it out. So me being a homeboy, homegirl type, I'm running with the best of them, learning from the best of them, and I'm out there with the best of them, making it happen too. Mm-hmm. So with me being a female, that puts a whole nother element or spin on it, right? So you have an element of respect that's needed, right? And that's kind of where my issue comes in, I think, too, with being the misunderstood and not being able to be blah, blah, blah. But go ahead, but I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
So our minds will be, because I thought I would be the exception. I think
it's not going to happen to me.
It's not going to happen to me. I think that's where I fall short a lot of time, because I'm just like, I know I am genuine. I know I am loyal. Right. I know I am loving. I come from that background. So if I can project that on you, I will be that exception.
But every time you try to make the exception, it always falls short. I don't know anybody's successful story where, and I call them strays, I'm sorry, where you picked up somebody who you know damn well you should have left alone.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And you picked them up anyway because you thought you were going to be the exception. You were going to change them to be something more than who they were.
That's true too.
If they didn't have it then, they ain't going to have it now. And it's probably a very small percent that would say, you know what, because of her, I am better. I do better. If you never wanted it then, why would you want it now? We take too many risks with our own lives and allowing ourselves to be in situations where we know it's a setup. Mm-hmm. But we go for it anyway.
Right.
So, younger self, don't do it, girl. It wasn't right.
Us as women, I think we fall in love with the potential. We don't fall in love with the reality.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's go back to Iyanla. You either fall in love. It's 3 things I think she said. It was the 3 P's. Potential, the penis, or the promise.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I got chills when you said that.
Girl, that shit was a nerve.
That shit made my hair on the back of my
And I'm going to have to edit that because I may not have all the P's right, but I know 2 of them right.
But let's just say those P's will work.
A bad thing going longer than what it needs.
One of those P's.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but that's where that age thing comes in, because I hate to say this, but being a little bit more mature adults and having to, be that way, I'm not impressed by that anymore. Like, you can't put it down.
None of the P's.
You gotta, get my mind.
None
if
of
you're
the
not
promises,
in my mind, none of that.
But how many situations did you have to go through
before
you got to the point where you're like,
jumping out of
ain't
moving vehicles and fighting for my life and all that. Right.
Like, I watched the show For My Man, and these girls, I just be like, how did you get to that? Like, how did you accept that? How did you allow this man to do what he has done? And you fall short of...
They got into mental.
Men can take over your mind if you allow them.
But if you're already insecure and he know that from the gate and he coming in, he's running shop anyway because you just want to be with somebody.
So, and this is just to touch base and not to make this about race, but when we come into the African American community,
Make it about race.
So, again, you hear the stigma that we come from a lot of single family homes, and I don't know the numbers ratio wise, but we don't have a lot of men taking the position of kings, which is what they are born, men are born in this world to be, whether they realize it or not. We birth kings that comes from the wombs of queens. But we have lost that. We have lost that over time because we have been enslaved in the systematic racism that has encaged us to think that we are nothing less than what our birthrights are. Right, so then you have men that don't realize what their position is and what their role is in life, and then you have these queens now that have to step up. What was that? Okay,
kings too.
So now you have the queens that have to step up and try to take a position that they are not
prepared to do. You were not born to be the leader, but yet and still you gotta be.
I wouldn't necessarily know. See, and that's the
I feel
thing.
like leading your own right, but a man should be a man, and they said that he should be the head of the household. And unfortunately, we live in a time where women have become the head of the household and everything else that surrounds her.
And then frowned upon, right? When she has to play
strong.
2 roles. But then when Father's Day comes and the queen says that, you know what, I'm mom and dad, then the men want to say, no, how you gonna be that? But where you at?
Yeah.
Because you don't like that, but where are you? So that kind of goes back to reel it back in, not to go too in depth in that, but I was raised in a single household. My father's living and breathing and whatever, but he is a product of his father's failure and his mom's failure in a sense. Okay, so then that transcended to his relationship with my mom, which she was a strong queen and realized that I'm not going to allow you to break this kingdom that I have to inherit because that you don't step up.
She's empowered,
right? So she raised two kids. She raised 2 kids, me and my brother, to the best of her ability. But then she came from a generation, her mom and dad, where my grandfather was broken as well because he came from his mom being abused by his stepfather and so on and so forth. So it's like these chains, right?
It's cyclical.
Men are being broken down. We don't have that. So then when it comes time for us to have a man tell us how we are to be treated as queens and a mom to tell us how we supposed to be treated as queens, we don't learn that. We learn that in the streets, where there's other broken queens and kings. You know what I'm saying? So we don't know to pick up to the signs and realize that this is not love because we go towards what we are familiar with. We go towards these bad guys because that feeling is familiar. Because we know what it feels like to want that love and someone's rejecting it. So what you're trying to do is project what you wanted your dad to give to you.
I hear you.
And so,
my parents been married for 46 years. So I had my dad every single day. My mom every single day. Stability. I knew what time he was leaving. I knew what time he was coming home. And nevertheless, you still have those experiences. Because even though he did take on that role as a king, like he held us down. My mom didn't have to work. You know, it was all taken care of, but it was so taken care of that she lost some autonomy. So it was like what he said was what was going to happen.
She didn't have a mind of her.
She had a mind of her own,
had her mind,
but didn't make no difference.
Yeah, like it didn't go outside of what
and then if there were no boys and that was just me and a sibling, my sister. So it was also like, you don't have any autonomy either. We're all going to do what I'm saying we're going to do as the king of this household, as the breadwinner. I'm holding this down, and this is what's going to take place.
But you had that leadership example.
I had that leadership example in my life. However, moving on into relationships has been different because one relationship that I've been in, he was very much that way.
Where he held it down.
He held it down. I had to worry. I had worried for nothing. So, but I did not like that because I felt like you're not gonna carry me like this. I am still going.
But that was the example that you had.
But that's what I knew.
Is that why?
But that's what I knew I did not want.
Because of the example and the way you lived your life all those years, and then
so I knew.
Changed.
I mean, I wanted that security and everything, but not with the dictatorship type way of extolling it. Mm-hmm. So,
but that truth, right? That's a truth right there.
Yeah.
In itself,
it's all in the
having
application.
The example and continually feeding into that same example over and over and over in our life as we evolve, growing up from children. With that example, we end up attracting back in our lives exactly what we were raised in.
Mm-hmm. Right, just like, my mom tells the story of her parents, so my grandmother and my grandfather. How my grandfather was maybe at one point physically abusive until they became wise to know that, okay, dad's putting his hands on mom, but then he went to mentally being abusive because that's the thing about broken people, right? They study other people's brokenness and try to figure out how they can absorb that and master that. So he knew she came from, a broken home. He knew her environment, and so therefore that gave him somewhat of control.
Like fuel.
He knew what pressure points to kind of tap into to guide her to where he needed her to be.
Doesn't that make him more powerful?
Right, exactly. That made him, that elevated him because, again, he came from a mom who came from a guy who knew her pressure point and knew how, so again, he did not break the cycle. He continued it. It may not have been as as bad as what his mom went through, but he still was a product of his environment, right? So you become a product in some way of your environment, whether it's that you're going to rebel against that product, that environment, or whether or not you wanted to continue it. I think we both shared our perspective of what environment can do to you moving forward. You know, like whether or not you're just going to stand above it, or whether or not you are going to stay on that same level. So I try to convince myself that my father not really being a dominant presence in my life does not affect me, but in ways it does. It comes out in
with the man that you attract.
So does that mean, because you know how it affects you, that you will keep the father around, a father around, because you don't want your daughter to feel that way, or you don't want your son to feel that way?
This is going to sound real selfish. I don't even think it's more so about keeping them around, because I want to have that family dynamic so much for my son and my daughter, because I know he's a man that regardless of what me and him go through, like, he's still going to be there for his kids, to be the parent that he feels is best. He knows how to be. I don't know how to not let go of what don't want me, because that's a feeling that I have been chasing from the man who has given birth to me all my life. Like,
I don't understand that to us. Right.
Yeah.
So I always wanted him to see me. Like, your blood runs through me. My DNA is because of your DNA, my mom's DNA. Like, you are living in this. See me. See me. Like, I am here because of you. And of course, I can't be, but I am here because of you. Why don't you see me? So now I got a man who, I'm like, I got all this love, I got all this me. Like, look what
you don't feel like he sees you.
Look what I've done. You know, look what I have to offer, and you still don't see me.
That's so crazy that you say that, because I feel the same way. And I know that okay, go ahead, finish.
So
go ahead.
So here it is. I'm rejected from someone who gave birth to me, which hits you to a core.
They should be like daddy's girl and do all that daddy and all that, right?
Maybe that's what love is, right? Because I'm still pouring, and it's like, you give me a little bit, give me just enough to build me up, and then you drop me down again, and then I reach back out for you, and then you build me up.
That's
and
crazy.
Then you drop me up again. So here it is. I find somebody who
does the same thing.
Did the same thing. So I'm like, this is love. Right? Because I'm constantly chasing. Like, this is what that feels like. This is a familiar feeling. But then I come across somebody that puts me out of that element. I run from that. I run from somebody that's just like, you are a queen, you are beautiful, you is this. Because I'm like, I don't know what the hell that is. But that's putting me in a whole nother level, because that can't be it. Because that feels right. To another level of right, because I don't know, but this, I'm conflicted, but it's familiar. Like, this is a confliction that I have coped with all my life. So then I'm going to jump back to that familiarity, because I know what that's going to be.
That's so crazy.
I know what that is.
What you're saying right now is so familiar to me. I can definitely relate to that, because I'm the same exact. I have the same issues, same exact shit. And it's funny because that same issue with the guy thing, it's like they see you, they see your qualities, they see your power, they see your intelligence, they see your drive, they see that you're loyal and all these great things, and they build you up to just pull the rug out from under you when you get in a comfortable space. Right when you get in this comfortable space.
But then when I get to the
confidence,
when I'm just like, oh, okay, I got this. Like, when you see that I'm starting to be that what I know I can be and what you know I can be, you like, oh no, let me break you down. Hold on now. You getting above yourself. You being what I don't want you to be, because you're going to be great if I allow you to be, and I don't want you to be great.
And that's because of their.
That's a reflection.
That's their insecurity.
That's your insecurities coming into that. So now let me break you back down, because I know your pressure points. I know what
the weak spots.
So what you're saying leads me to the next question.
Segue.
If we know all that, we know all that.
Yeah.
We can articulate it so clearly.
Familiarity. I already know
What
where
we're
you're going.
doing.
We go, birds of a feather flock together, and we get magnetically attracted back to familiar places. I think that's what it is.
All right, here's the truth.
Don't take your ass upstairs. That's all I
I'm struggling with the understanding of still holding my cute and only having lames out here. No one is qualified.
Why?
What's the qualifications?
Attracting or being attracted to the familiarities.
So let's talk about what a man
That
needs
aren't
to
good
have
for us.
essentially for you to feel like
He's
he's
qualified.
approachable.
Mm-hmm.
And vice versa. If you're approaching me, what is the conversation? I'm sorry, but I always ask, what do you do for a living? Because if your shit is not on point, you got to go. I work hard. But, to
No, I'm with you. No, I get
So-
that.
I'm working 3 jobs. You working 1? Why you only work 1 job?
I had somebody actually say to me one time, so what, you don't support somebody that's striving to do better?
Hell
Like, you
no.
gotta have them with their shit together first? Like, how do I answer that? Because
At a certain age,
I am
yes.
the part to where I will support you to be that better one, but then where does my value come in, right? Where am I going to be valued? Where does the loyalty come in for me? Now I ask that question. Maybe before I never did. Because I'm like, I'm all in. I'll support
I think
you.
it's mental stimulation for me. Like, what knowledge can be bestowed upon me that I feel like
You need to be around.
I can learn from, I can gain from, I can truly be better from.
Right. Benefit your life.
And it's not so much as just me, but how can that transcend to us building our empire together? So because material things we all learn can come and go, but what's up here does not. What's in your mind does not necessarily mean
Like
what's
quality
in
of
your
character,
Alzheimer's and
moral
all that, but that's,
standards.
factual thing. But outside of that, like I'm starting to learn the older I get that it's mental stimulation. But that's dangerous, right? Because someone can play that very well, and when they get into your mental, that can really break you as well.
So for qualifications, we're talking about mental stimulation. We're talking about one mentioned.
You need to be working. Sorry.
What do you do?
Yeah.
What do you do for
And
a living?
I don't care if you work at McDonald's, Burger King, and Taco Bell. You have a job that's paying enough so that at the end of the day, you can take care of yourself, because I don't want to be the one who's taking care of you. I need to know that at the end of the day, you can provide for yourself. If it comes down to it, I can provide for myself. And when we come together, we can provide for each other. But I'll be down if you come into this working just like McDonald's. I'm working 3 jobs. No.
But what you bring to the table more than just love, or what you think is love.
Yeah.
That's another thing. What you think is love may not be what I think is love.
Right. Absolutely.
And the demonstration of that may not be, that may not align. Okay, so we talking about mental stimulation. We're talking about financial stimulation, because we need a stimulus package.
But let's talk about false
Okay.
profits out this bad boy.
Talk about what?
Stop showing me what you need me to see so I can get
What do you mean, the ones that hit the Bible
So
talk
what about
with you?
the
and
ones
everything
that-
else?
I'm not talking in the biblical sense, but when I say
The ones
false
that
prophets,
said they had
not even
or
said they
portrayed.
There we go. That portrays that
So-
they have it all together, and then
And they
you
don't.
just like, all right, you not only showing me something, you saying something, it kind of makes sense, and it kind of look like you got it, and then when you finally start to invest your time, your feelings, your finances, and then you find out like you're not really what you said you were.
You portrayed.
So then I fell in love with that
image.
I fell in love with your representative who you brought to the
Your
table
representative.
because you knew that he was going to
representative.
bag me. Hello. And now that I'm bagged, you went back to being a bum.
And then when I call you out on it, then you look
look
at
your
me.
bell,
Right?
Your stomach out.
You
did
didn't took
everything.
that fish line and was like,
Remember
she
that
the
movie?
one.
What was that movie? It took her leg off,
Right.
she took her wig off.
Wait,
I'm
what-
gonna
what-
get you sucker.
I'm gonna get you, sucker.
Like, well, wait a minute. Like, you start taking things out, and then you mad at me because I can't quite get over the fact that I was.
You were a fake.
Yeah.
You were a
And
lame.
then you try to make me feel like I'm wrong for being in love with the image that you painted for me.
That's called
That you
manipulation.
present.
It was a facade.
It was a facade.
But so stop facade down here because it ain't working.
Facading is not just, it's not a verb. It's not something that we do. It's something
But
you
why do
portray.
men do that? I feel like men are just as desperate as
Because
women
they
is
see
at
the value
times.
in you that you may not necessarily have
Absolutely.
seen in you. So I'm going to show you what I know is going to bring you in, because I see the queen in you.
Mm-hmm.
I see it.
Just like we have an intuition, I don't know what theirs is called, but they have something that they can see too, and they will play on it,
They're
and
like,
they know
shoot 'em
how
down.
to play on it, and they know how to play on it very well. Because me, I was with my son father for 9 years, and in the beginning, you couldn't tell me that this man wasn't gold.
He was your forever. He was
When I looked at him, he glowed. Like, I could see the
Had a halo
Yeah.
on him, glowed over time.
And
Let
once
me
we
understand.
got
She's gonna come
together,
in on that.
once we got together, it was all a lie.
Right.
And this man dragged me from, like, he just did
From
me.
dusk till dawn.
Yes, it was terrible. But it was
California to
all in
Baltimore.
act. And the crazy thing, his whole family was in on it. Because before you knew it, I had the mama, the daddy, the brothers, the cousins, everyone living in my house. And no one was helping me.
So how about the ones that say, you're the best thing that ever happened to him? What about the best thing that ever happened to me?
Yep.
You want me to stay in this relationship because I am the best thing that ever happened to him. But what about what I need? So basically what you're saying is, since I love you, I know he's not right, but please stay because
I'm the
without
best
you,
thing, right.
he ain't gonna make it. Well, if I stay, we ain't gonna make it.
But their investment is in him. It's not in you.
Exactly.
So when they say, he got a good thing here, I want him to keep it. Because my investment is in him.
But clearly
it's not
he
in
don't-
you.
But they needed him to be where
get you.
he was so they could continue to live. So it wasn't only just him, the whole family was in on everything. So it wasn't that they wanted him to be happy with me. They wanted to make
Be
sure
taking
they
care of
still
themselves,
had
too.
a roof over their head and a cooked meal every single day.
Because you were providing.
And at the moment, I was like, oh yeah, this is wonderful. Like, I have never. But at the end of the day,
Then you just feel like your life is starting. You're like, why do I feel like I'm losing me? Like something is missing in me. But
Right.
everybody else seems like they full.
Mhm.
They glowing, and I'm feeling like I'm just withering away.
I just want to go
Nobody
to my room
asks
and
the
close the
hero,
door.
Do they want to be saved?
Right.
Nobody.
Let me tell
Right.
you, that day when I woke up out of my bed, I woke up and they were Muslim, and at the time they were going through Ramadan. And I woke up because I would wake up at 3 in the morning
Right.
and make breakfast for everyone so they could eat breakfast, and a heavy breakfast so they could last throughout the day until it was time to break fast. And this one morning I woke up and I went to get in the shower to take my bath, and I was like, everybody gotta go. And they all gotta go today.
It just
Not
hit
It
you.
was
tomorrow.
enough. It was enough.
Yup.
I was
When a woman is
burning
fed
myself
up.
out. Like, really burning myself out. And I was just like, everybody has to go.
That's that aha moment.
Yup.
And I got out the shower, and they were starting to wake up because, you know, normally they had breakfast. And they were like, you not cooking? No. Y'all gotta go. Everybody gotta go.
Ouch.
Everybody. And y'all can take the kids with y'all because they gotta go too. Because at this moment, I need to figure out where I'm at. And at the time, my son was probably 4. I'm like, I need to figure out me. So take this
It
little
just
kid
hit
too.
me that it's not this.
Yeah, and
Right.
it wasn't. And I went through hell after everyone left because I was so used to everybody being there. But I'm struggling paying all the bills. Don't have money to do absolutely nothing
Only
that I
going
need
to work
do.
every day, coming home.
I'm paying for y'all to sit in my house all day with the TV running, taking showers. I
Tired.
go to the market on Sunday. By Monday, and when I say the mother, the father, the brothers, the cousins, they all was living in my house.
That makes my body hot.
I know, right?
So it was like it.
Trying
That
to
was
chew my
it.
nails.
But they needed him to stay where he was, regardless of how he was treating me, regardless of what he was doing to me, regardless of how I was hurting. They needed him to stay there so they could all have a place to live, and they could all have what they needed in their lives. They didn't care about anyone else.
So does that show where he got it from?
Yeah, because even now it's still going on.
Because he's been, basically he was groomed to do this. To find somebody to take care of us. To take care of me, they're going to take care of you.
So he was groomed to be the head of the household, but not have to do anything for that household.
Yeah. And it's still, even now,
She all happy.
we've been apart for years, and it's still going on. So, yeah, it's
Sorry about
sad.
that.
It's hurtful, but at the end of the day, you grow from things like that.
What a conversation. And that's just the beginning. Check in next week for part 2 of From Her Point of View, One Question, One Truth.
You've been listening to From Her Point of View. From Her Point of View is a podcast covering a wide range of topics. The content is specifically curated for women by women. To give feedback or for questions, please reach out to us at 443-507-8032. Also email fromherpointofviewllc@gmail.com. Please visit the podcast website fromherpointofview.podbean.com. Also the Facebook page From Her Point of View. Tune in weekly to hear it from her point of view.